with less abbreviations, so that doesn't make your life too difficult. And a special, gift should be given to people like us who've come from Electronic City all the way this side. Yeah, right. Good morning, everyone. I was hoping that we would see more people up in the morning. I'm overdosed on caffeine, so I'm all good to go. I hope it's the same for you all. I've got 10-minute stops, and I enjoy meeting my deadline, so I'm going to keep it very short. But just to give you a context, what I'm going to talk about and how I've set this up is to say that, well, there's a lot of stuff that you see on Google, right? You see things like skills, hyper-personalized learning, trends in HR, so on and so forth. But I believe some of you have actually spent some money to come here and attend some talks. So I thought, could I give you something which you would not normally find on Google? Something that you could just go and take it up to your organizations and implement. And if that makes sense, and if that's something that you can do, then I think I've done a good job. Do let me know if this works for you, over the next few months, or if you don't get a buy-in, or you do get a buy-in, because this is something which is extremely difficult to sell to your leadership. People don't necessarily believe in this, but there are a few organizations in this country who have started setting up something known as a Skill Center of Excellence. Okay, I don't know, quick show of hands if anybody gets it, if anybody's read about it, if anybody knows what a Skill Center of Excellence, just a show of hands. I'm not going to ask you questions. Awesome, brilliant. So there are a few, okay? Simply put, Skill Center of Excellence is the new way of looking at everything hire to retire, right? And you'll have to bear with me. This is going to be a little bit of an overdose because it takes a while to understand how is this different from what L&D has always been doing. But you would have heard of things like role-based organizations where we do job evaluations with Hayes methodologies, et cetera, et cetera. Now, what has happened is that over the last couple of years, organizations have started moving to something known as a skill-based organization. Okay, what they're saying is that, okay, let me give you a use case. Promotions. When you look at the annual conversations on promotions, what is the kind of data that you have to look at? You have tenure, a golden performance rating, good, bad, ugly, all right? Some bit of 9 boxes, where is the person placed, et cetera, and then a whole lot of gut and intuition, right? But what you necessarily do not have is this person that you're thinking of promoting or progressing ready for the role at hand? So that ready for the role at hand, that question is typically answered because of a manager's feedback or a God syndrome. Somebody says that, yes, this person is ready. So what Skill Center of Excellence tries to do is provide you with more data, okay? So how do you establish this Skill Center of Excellence? So what I'm trying to say, simplifying the whole piece, is to say, have a lot of data around skills in your organization. Because otherwise what will happen is, you'll end up training people on things that they possibly do not know. How many of you have MDPs, manager development programs, first-time managers, EDPs, LDPs? How did you arrive at the fact that this person that you put into an MDP needs the full-blown version of an MDP program? How did you arrive at that? Did you have a measure in place to say, well, it doesn't need the full-blown program, just needs a conflict management learning? How do you handle conflict? Would you not be saving this man's precious time, okay, in the organization, and save yourself some monies, spending on CCLs and the others, with all due respect to CCLs and the others, but you have to go hyper-personalized. Isn't that what this whole thing is about? How do you hyper-personalize learning? When I started doing photography, and I love photography, I didn't want to learn the entire gamut of it. There are certain things that I knew, but there are certain things I didn't know. So I only wanted to learn those skills that I did not know, okay, not the entire gamut of photography. That's where the ethos of setting up a skill COE exits. Now, how does technology play a role here, okay? You've all heard of AI, okay? This is not AI, what I'm going to talk about. Not everything in technology is AI, okay? I think it's the world's most abused term ever. Well, the way the skill COE is established is to first understand what are the roles that you have in the organization. So if you have not done your job evaluations, this will not work, okay? So the first step is to understand what are the unique job roles that you have in the organization, right? So you start from there. Once you've done your UJRs, unique job roles, then you set up something known as a comparator basket. What does that mean? Let's suppose you are an HRBP and I want to benchmark your skills with the best HRBPs in the best organizations anywhere in the world. all right? And there's technology available, which Ankur probably will speak about. There's technology available to do exactly that. So I can define in a technology that for an HRBP who's got about 7 years of experience, comes from an MBA, kind of a background, which are the companies that I want to look at? I want to look at Amazon, I want to look at Pfizer, I want to look at Novartis, based in Singapore, based in US, based in Canada, based in whatever countries. Now this technology goes out and does something known as net scraping, okay? It's parsing. It figures out from LinkedIn and many other portals that for an HRBP with this kind of an experience set, what are the skills that the world is asking for, right? Then this technology throws back those skills to you as an organization, says that for an HRBP, the world is looking for these 5 skills or these 10 skills or these 20 skills, and it categorizes those skills to say these are the hot skills that everybody started talking about, which we were not talking about earlier. Hot skills / emerging skills. These are the maintained skills people have been asking for forever. And these are the declining skills. Stop them. You don't need them anymore, all right? When you get this kind of an input, that's not enough. This technology also throws out to you that what is the proficiency level at which you need the skill for an HRBP. Level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. And then it goes further deep down into scraping and says, for this particular skill, okay, where is the best learning program hosted? Best learning program is defined as the learning program which more and more people are consuming and finding it relevant. Okay, because this is a technology which finds out for every role what are the key skills needed, where is the learning program hosted, what is the proficiency level that you need to train the person on. And these curations of learning are not just done on a certain paid platform like a Coursera, etc. It also gives you open sources. A lot of learning sits on YouTube. Some of the learning sits on Instagram, right? When you get this information in, what do you do next? Well, simple. You start assessing people. And how can you assess? You can do assessments, which are MCQs. You can do manager ratings to show whether this person, the skills that has been asked for, has this person applied those skills, okay? And then you go ahead and do also something known as a self-evaluation. What do I think? Once the assessments are done, the third thing that happens is that you get a readiness score. Readiness score for my current role. With me so far? But now if you think deep, what else are you getting? You're getting something known as skill adjacencies. So if an HRBP for whom I got about 10 skills, is there a system in place to say, you know what, if this guy's got 10 skills, 7 of these skills are required for some other role. So therefore there is a fungibility. Therefore this person can move into this other role as well. Now suddenly the system throws you something that we have been hammering our brains to figure out, which is known as how do you establish career pathways in the organization, career lattices, to say where do people move in the organization. So the system is able to populate to you that given the skills, these are the different roles that this person can move into. And your internal mobility problems are therefore solved. I'm not saying that you would not look at role tenure, you will not look at the performance ratings and the 9 boxes, but you get one more data input to make that decision. Okay, now establishing the skill COE is not a joke because as I said, the technology is available, but it needs a lot of change management, needs a design. The learning journeys for users become extremely easy. Why? Because I have now enabled a user interface for an employee where the employee is able to choose that the system recommends this role for me to aspire into. However, I want to be the CEO. So I click a button, that's my moonshot role, okay? I click a button and I see that what are the skills required for a CEO is an exaggerated example just to give you, or rather, get your attention, but any aspired role, okay? I see the skills that are needed for that role and I start my own learning journey. Because our learning people are no more just trainers, they are learning curators. They have actually curated learning paths which are not necessarily only e-learning, only classroom training. These are coaching sessions, these are mentoring sessions for a certain skill. What is the 70, 20, 10 that you need? Those learning journeys have been curated, and that's how people get into this whole action. Now, if the process is clear, okay, the previous slide was all about the process, then let's understand the impact of all of this, okay? As I said, if you establish skill COE, it's a disruptor. It disrupts HR in everything that you do. I have also another use case which I was saving, save the best for the last. that today I have a dollar value against a skill. And Anko, you would be interested in knowing this, or rather you would know this better than me. There is a dollar value against a skill that I have, okay? As I said, these are not 30,000 feet, skills. They are all measurable, okay? And these are micro in nature. So all of these skills, when they came up, I was able to find out from the same scraping that what is the world paying towards that skill. And because now I have a value against a skill, do you realize what happens? My compensation plans have gone topsy-turvy. Because now a pay for an individual is derived on the basis of the skill value. Retention discussions have changed. Just because I thought you were important doesn't make any sense. The system tells me not important because the hot skills and emerging skills are not with this person or are not required in this role. So therefore, you could let go. All right? So that disrupts. So this is just a quick example of how everything in hire to retire, whether it's learning, hiring, recruiting, everything changes. All right? And I would encourage you to now go back to your Googles, okay, and do a little more research on what Skills Center of Excellence is. Trust me, it is disrupting everything. If I have established a use case, it is important for me to also establish the problem statements. As I said, the biggest problem statement or the biggest pitfall in establishing a Skills Center of Excellence that you would get is the buy-in of an organization because people will not understand this. They will say, how is this different from competency maps? People will not understand the fact that, oh, there's going to be no more classroom trainings. People will not understand the fact that a quality guy can possibly move into manufacturing. A manufacturing person can possibly move into HR and so on and so forth. And then there's this whole phenomena, how do I let go of this person just because this person is ready for another role? And because you have data, the employees will come back to you and say, why are you not moving me into this new role? Because here you have data. I am ready for the role. Here is the skill score that I have. Okay, the biggest roadblock to this is learning and development teams. I'm sorry I'm saying this, but we are the biggest roadblocks to this because now what happens is that if you have been investing money, if you have in your strategy, digital transformation as a big thing, okay, which you have put this year's strategy in an organization is to drive digital transformation. Now what this particular skill center of excellence does is everybody has taken an assessment, okay? Everybody has done a skill assessment. Digital transformation, wherever it is required as a skill, now at an org level you can see if I have 20,000 people, how many of those people have good scores on digital transformation? And if you as an L&D person have been investing on digital transformation trainings, but the score is too low, you know that your investments have not been done properly. Okay? And this also encourages something known as a gig economy, which I was speaking to you about in the morning. Now you know exactly at a skill level who are the people who are proficient. So today for me, if I need somebody to make a PowerPoint presentation, I know in my organization who are those people who have good PPT skills. And I can give them a 2-hour project. This I picked up from Unilever. They have this whole practice of U-work or something, where they pick up these little projects and they say that who are the people in my organization who can do this particular skill. And I can use that person for 2 hours, maybe give them some money for it. And that solves my moonlighting and sunlighting and whatever other lighting problems that I have. Okay, guys, I'm done. Okay, the counter is ticking. I have 2 minutes precisely. If you've got any questions, would love to answer them. Yeah, please. Sir.
Everyone goes through the assessment. My question is, how do you ensure that the senior management also role models this process?
The management will become your biggest roadblocks for this because I don't blame them. They haven't seen these kind of things. And for them, this is just a fancy little HR hashtag that you have deployed. I think the best way to drive, this is what worked for me. While I would have loved to, do the assessments first for the senior management, it will not work. Nobody at that level wants to be assessed, okay? We are the best. So what I did was that I started mapping skills to KPIs, all right? So every KPI that I have in an organization has a map to a skill or a set of skills. Then I started establishing POC. I said, listen, this particular KPI of EBITDA for one of my finance managers is misbehaving. You understand misbehaving? It is not being performed well. Now, I said that I have 5 skills which this person needs to possess to drive EBITDA, okay? If I was to encourage this person to do some kind of a learning, development, blah, 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 on these 5 skills, hopefully EBITDA would become a better KPI for this person to achieve. And that happened. It took about 4 to 5 months. And then when I started establishing the POCs, the senior leadership was interested because then the CFO said, listen, I have this whole acquisition that I have done, and you know what? There are certain things that I need to achieve, whether it's investment, whether it's whatever, you know. What are the skills needed, Vikas? I said, okay, I don't have an answer, but let's go and figure it out. You know, you build curiosity by establishing POCs, and that's the best way to hit a management. If you start going at the top and say, listen, first thing, I want you to assess your score or assess your skill map, it's never going to happen. People will not agree to you. Okay? So the best way to do this is establish POCs. I hope that answers your questions. Any other question you have? Yes, please.
That's right. Functional skills, technical domain skills.
Behavioral, functional,
behavioral. So
technical.
I think the assessment, what you're talking about, because the credibility of the assessment play an important role, right?
Yeah,
Because my scores are dependent on that. So how do you choose the best assessment?
The best assessment, okay, technical behavioral. Skill is a skill. A skill which you need to kind of deploy a certain job is what you need. It could be behavioral at a leadership level because that's what is needed there. It could be extremely functional at a junior level. The assessments, the way I have looked at it, because as I said, for me, managerial skill is not even a skill, okay? But I have not looked at those. I'm looking at autoclave. I'm looking at data pattern analysis. I'm looking at reading, you know, or interpreting data. Now, there are assessments available. If not, we have a solution. I've employed a certain partner who's building these assessments for me. You know, MCQs, multiple choice questions. But the best form of assessment, you know, is what? My personal belief is the manager's view. Now, you would disagree, bias, this, that. But manager sees the application of the skill on a day-to-day basis. The third assessment is the KPI. That if your KPI is mapped to a skill and the KPI is misbehaving, that's the best assessment that you have. That whether the skill is being deployed well or not. You know, so give KPI a bigger weightage, manager skill the next set of weightage, and then your, you know, self-assessments and all of that and MCQs. But the biggest weightage to KPI, then to the manager's feedback, and that's it. That's how you will create an assessment. It's not one assessment, it's a set of assessments. You have to create an assessment framework for that. All right, guys, my time is up. It was up about a few minutes back, but thank you so much for patiently listening to me. Happy to engage with you, connect with me, ask me questions, would love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Mr. Vikas Maheshwari. Now, I would like to call upon Mr. Yogesh Bari, Vice President, Capability Development, First Source Solutions Limited, to do the honors of felicitating Mr. Vikas Maheshwari.